Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Tuesday, May the 31st, 2016, and I have the very great honor of welcoming to the show the president and director, Mr. Bryan Slusarchuk, and he is with K92 Mining, and you can find out more about them at k92mining.com, and they are listed on the TSX Stock Exchange. Symbol is KNT. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Rory, thanks a lot for having me on.
Well, I'm certainly glad that you're here, and I've spent several hours on your website this weekend and saw that you have, it sounds like the chairman and director, Stuart Agnes, he's been involved with several highly profitable, very lucrative mining operations, including the Bema Gold and currently with Nevsun, one of the largest copper mines in the world. So you guys have some solid management, including your own very successful background running this mining operation. And I want to start out, Bryan, with looking at the physical market and versus the paper market. And with a 500 plus paper promises for each ounce of physical gold offered at the COMEX, how does this help or hinder your efforts, or does it have any effect at all on the mining industry from your perspective?
Absolutely. And I think what you point out is the insanity of the paper market versus the physical market. And what we have become as a nation is really a nation of paper speculators, whereas the underlying gold bullion that's being exchanged is simply not being exchanged. There are promises to exchange gold bullion, but as you pointed out, that just doesn't occur, and there's no ability for that to occur given that ratio of actual ounces to the paper promises. And, where is gold bullion going? I think that there's a very good argument and a very compelling situation here that gold bullion can go a whole lot higher. I always like to point to the historic ratio that we've seen in other gold bull markets where gold bullion often trades at the level of the Dow. In 1980, as you know, gold was at $800. The Dow was at $800. In 1934, gold was at $36. And you know what the Dow was at? It was at 37. So here we are today with the Dow in the stratosphere and gold trading around $1,200. Now, with the Dow up at 17,000, 18,000, will gold get there? Well, I don't know, but as Pierre Lassonde points out, the chairman of Franco-Nevada, the former president of Newmont, and a really astute expert,
yes,
when he points to this ratio, he says, will it get there? I don't know, but even if it gets halfway there, we're talking $8,000 to $9,000 an ounce. And I think that in itself gives investors in these high-grade gold situations just some wonderful upside based on what history has told us.
Exactly. And I don't know that gold will go up to meet the Dow, but I personally believe that the Dow will come down to meet gold. And will they meet at a 1-to-1 parity? I don't know. That's only time will tell that. But I certainly believe that the Dow is set up for a fairly major correction, and if that happens, then people will go into gold, and they'll certainly go into the mining shares, and who knows where it'll wind up. Like I said, only time will tell.
Exactly, and I agree with you on that. At the same time, I think what's very interesting is that on any trade, you always have two sides. And right now, you have countries like China, like Russia, gobbling up every bit of gold they can get their hands on.
Yep.
At the same time, what are we doing? Canada, just a few weeks ago, announced that it has no gold. The
Yes,
central bankers in Canada, in their wisdom, have no gold for the first time since the 1930s. It's insanity. And
it
what was
isn't.
it is. And what was their response? They said, "Don't worry, we have $48.4 billion US dollars, so we are holding real value to support our reserves." Well, all of this is one central banker colluding with another, propping each other's fiat currencies up with other fiat currencies
Yes,
with nothing to back it. It's insane, in my view, that the central bankers think that this game can continue. And as I said, there's always another side to the trade. And right now, countries like China are gobbling up every ounce they can get their hands on. And unfortunately, I think that this just doesn't end well for us unless the central bankers change and pivot.
exactly. It's as you pointed out, Brian. It's one central bank promising uh, riches based on another central bank's promises of riches.
Exactly,
And that's all it
and
is.
it is, and it's insanity, and it really is. You know, it's a harsh word, but there's no other word to describe it other than collusion. And
Yes,
you've got central bank collusion and central bankers propping up each other's worthless promises to pay with more worthless promises to pay. And I think that at the end of the day, if nothing else other than a hedge against this insanity, investors need to consider precious metals, gold and silver, as
yes,
part of an investment strategy. And we're a new company, as you mentioned. We trade under the symbol KNT in Canada. We've actually just found out there is a gray market in the U.S. on it because of the demand under the symbol KNTNF. And we hear from people all of the time as to their concern, their fear, their worry about what these central banks are doing. And they're looking for alternatives in the gold space. Traditionally, gold equities outperform bullion itself at a time of uptick and real bull market runs in gold. So we're very happy to be able to share our story and our situation with investors that agree with us as to the fact that this is just a scary time given the potential collapse of these fiat currencies.
exactly. And you guys at K92, you guys acquired really a turnkey mine. I mean, this was a real coup for your company. You have proven gold in the ground, close to, if not, a fully functioning mine in place that you purchase for pennies on the dollar, and it includes all the necessary infrastructure to support a mine. You've got an airport, you got electricity, you got paved roads, all in place. And K92 already has a milling process facility that was built in 2006. And all of these are the larger expenses that once again you got for pennies on the dollar. And what does all this mean once you begin pulling gold, copper, and other minerals out of the ground? I mean, my guess is that it will cut your cost per ounce of gold mined quite dramatically. Would that be a fair statement?
Well, absolutely, Rory. And that's the benefit of this project, the benefit of acquiring a high grade gold asset with existing infrastructure, including the processing facility, significant underground development, mining equipment, and great infrastructure, such as a dedicated hydroelectric line to the project, such as a paved road to the site. When we purchased this asset from Barrick, we purchased it at the depth, at the worst time in the gold market. We went out, searched for a gold asset in a tough time, as I mentioned, and because of the fact we have a very experienced, capable team of mining professionals, we were able to privately fund this asset for the past 2 years. So investors entering the situation now get direct exposure to a near-term production opportunity without all of the question marks that traditionally surround the building of a mine, the building of a mill, the construction, etc. All that's there. The mine's there, the mill's there, the infrastructure's there, and as we announced yesterday in an update news release, we're rapidly advancing towards high-grade production.
It sounds like taking candy from a baby.
Well, it was, we purchased this asset from the world's largest gold company, but this was a gold company that had $13 billion in debt,
Yep.
told their shareholders they were going to exit and sell all of those projects in the entire region in Australia and Papua New Guinea and Indonesia, etc., reduce their debt and focus on their core projects. So by picking this up at the bottom of the gold market and being able to advance it privately over the past 2 years because of the strength of the management team, we just feel very fortunate. And this is a team, Rory, that has done it before. As you mentioned earlier, I'm president and director, but I've got to tell you about our chief executive officer, a fellow by the name of Ian Stalker. He's a mining executive with 40 years of experience building and operating mines. He was the vice president of Goldfields when it was the world's fourth largest gold producer. What's also interesting is he's no stranger to these micro-cap situations becoming big-cap situations. He was the CEO of a mining company called Uramin that started off as a micro-cap and went from a micro-cap in 2005 to getting taken out for $2.5 billion in 2007. So
Wow.
with guys like Ian, other guys, as you mentioned, Mr. Angus, guys like Doug Turwin, Alex Davidson, John Lewin, this is just a very good technical team. Interestingly, Alex Davidson was the executive vice president of Barrick Gold for exploration and corporate development worldwide when Barrick owned this asset. Several days after we bought this asset, we were very fortunate to have Alex Davidson join the K92 team. And I think that speaks volumes about the asset itself. And Alex, incidentally, is a guy that in 2003 was named the Prospector of the Year by the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada. In 2005, he won the DeFrenzy Award to recognize exceptional achievement in mining exploration in Canada. This is a very solid guy. The technical team that's been put together here, in my view, my personal opinion, is second to none. And that's why we were able to fund it privately and advance it privately for the past 2 years.
And I wanted, you'd mentioned Ian Stalker, and I was listening to an interview with him over the weekend, but he was explaining that you guys already have permits in place, access to the location, and a plan for reinvestment of the estimated 50,000 annual ounces of gold that it looks like you guys are going to be pulling out of the ground here before too long. And Bryan, what do your projections show as to when the gold will begin to flow at the current mine location? And all of what I was just explaining is in relation to a new project called the Cora project. And when do you plan on breaking ground at that forthcoming project?
Sure. And what I'll do is refer to the document that we filed on CEDAR, our technical report, which here in Canada is called the 43101 report.
Yep.
That has a lot of detail for people that really want to dig into this. But here I'll provide an overview. Our
Yes.
first area of production is at a deposit called Iruma-Fimpa. And this is a high-grade gold situation, 240,000 ounces in the indicated category at 13.3 grams per ton. So very high-grade situation.
Yes.
We'll be producing there, or targeting to produce there, over the span of the next couple of years, and then we move into Cora, which is the larger deposit, 1.84 million ounces, gold equivalent, inferred at 11.6 grams per ton, and it's wide open and strongly mineralized at the extent of all drilling. So over the next few months, we're targeting first concentrate from Iruma-Fimpa. And then we plan to be in Iruma-Fimpa over the next couple of years, for the next couple of years, I should say. At the same time, we'll be commencing an underground drive from Iruma-Fimpa into the Cora deposit. We'll be drill testing along the way between these two deposits, looking to enhance and grow the resource. We'll be in Cora with this underground drive approximately 6 months after starting it. We'll put a ventilation shaft in, but the big thing here is to test the limits of this, because as we noted very quickly when we looked at the project is hey, this is very, very sizable as it sits now, and it's very high grade. But not only is it strongly mineralized at the extent of all drilling, but 350 meters below the known ore body, Barrick intersected a big, wide 30-meter cut of very strong gold, silver, and copper mineralization. So this represents a potential vertical extension to this deposit. So in addition to getting into Cora and starting immediately near-term production at Iruma-Fimpa, the other goal here is to expand this already high-grade and large resource that is the Cora ore body.
Man, that you guys must be just really pumped about this. Geez, I mean that's a lot of gold and silver you guys are looking at, and copper as well. I mean,
it absolutely is, and I always let people know that there are real risks involved in the mining sector. There are inherent risks if you invest in commodities. I always point to our documents on CDR that people should review. But the one thing that I know from my career is that because there are risks inherent in the space, you better pick high-grade situations. Grade is king, and grade can make up for a lot of the inherent risks, ups and downs in the commodity space, etc. Is gold going to $4,000 or $5,000? I personally think so, but I could be wrong. If it doesn't, and it stays here, well, I want to make sure that if I own shares in a company, that they're shares of a company that has a high-grade situation, so that it can withstand the ups and downs in the gold market that are just inherent in this space.
Exactly. And you guys acquired this whole project. K92 acquired everything from Barrick. And how do you see mergers and acquisitions affecting the mining industry over the next 2 to 3 years? I mean, are we going to see a lot more consolidation, not only, Bryan, at the company level, but there are reports that indicate consolidation even at the country level? I mean, do you see a lot more concentration within the known global mining regions as well as company consolidations?
Absolutely. And it's interesting to note that our chairman, Stuart Tukey Anga, is one of the best known M&A guys out there. Tukey was, as you mentioned earlier, with BEMA from the get-go until its big takeover. He was a director of Conoco until it was taken over by CVRD. He was a director, one of the founding directors of Ventana Gold, which was a real interesting situation because Ventana picked up an asset, a gold asset at the bottom of the market. Ventana was trading in the 10-cent range if you can believe it. And a couple of years later, was taken out in 2011 for $1.3 billion, which equated to just north of $13 per share.
Wow.
Tukey is one of the best-known M&A guys. He was actually the head of global mining at Fasken Martineau, was managing director of M&A for Endeavor. So we have a whole lot of conversation about M&A. And I think there's no doubt that what you see in these gold cycles is companies with access to capital pick up assets from majors at the bottom of the market when times are tough, guys that want to go out, and buy umbrellas when it's sunny. And then when we re-enter the market, the bull market, we start to see more activity on the ground. Then we start to see some consolidation, etc. And look, our goal is to be a profitable, high-grade gold producer and do that for a long, long time. However, will we be a potential takeover target down the road? It's too early to tell, but if we're in a gold bull market again at some point, I know what people look for when they look for asset acquisitions. They look for high grade, they look for existing infrastructure, and they look for projects that can get big or are already big. And I think we tick those boxes. So it's going to be very interesting 18 to 24 months down the road here, what becomes of the company. Right now, our focus is on getting into production. We want to have our first concentrate by the end of summer, and grow this company into a very profitable, high-grade gold producer. As far as M&A, we'll see what happens. But what I can tell you is we've got some of the most successful M&A guys in the industry on our board, on our team, and we'll make sure to get full value for shareholders, whatever comes at us.
It sounds like, Bryan, that you guys are really kind of almost sitting in the driver's seat as far as mergers and acquisitions are concerned, as far as the position that you are currently in and the one that you will be in just a few months from now. I mean, it sounds like there's going to be people chomping at the bit to get at you. I mean, especially if you get these two projects connected with what you are seeing already in the ground. I mean, goodness gracious. And I've got one last question, Bryan, and then I'll let you get back to your morning. I know you're a very busy man with you guys just now coming on to the public market. And this is a little bit more personal. And how do you, Bryan, how do you define personal success?
I define personal success with being able to get up every morning, do something that you love to do, to be invigorated by it, excited about it. And, with that as a measure, I feel very fortunate to have the success of being able to work with this group of guys, with this team, on a project that can really have, big, positive, impactful meaning for a whole lot of people. First off, as investors, but also the local community over there. It's just a wonderful place to work. We've been there, obviously, for a couple of years now. We've forged some great relationships in Papua New Guinea, and it's also great to be part of a project that can create employment, tax revenue, opportunity for people in a country that is emerging and needs this type of activity. So I find that personal success, it is a combination of all of those things, and really it's all about waking up in the morning and excited to take on the day, and that's what I've got right now because of this project, and I feel very blessed because of it.
I like that answer a lot. That's very similar to how I would define personal success as well. And we've been speaking with Mr. Bryan Slusarchuk, who is the president and director of K92 Mining, and you can find more about these projects and a lot more at K92mining.com, and they are listed on the Toronto Venture TSX under the symbol KNT. Bryan, thank you for all your time this morning, and I look forward to speaking with you in the not too distant future.
Great. Thanks so much, Rory.